Yes, hello everyone. Falchius Jockety, Cúilín Media. Welcome back to Cúilín Media for another weekend review show. And by God, do we have an episode for you today. Full house. Myself, Séamus Brady, joined by Matthew Hurley, Liam White, and Aaron Prendergast. And we are going to run through the two All-Ireland Senior Club Championship finals, which took place today. And we're going to touch on all of the other GA action, which took place across the weekend, such as the Walsh Cup final, other pre-season competitions, and the little LGFA League kicking off for Division 4 in 2026. There's no question though, lads. The All-Ireland Club Finals took centre stage. Aaron, I'll come to you first. What did you make of them? I mean, you got it pretty much spot on for the hurling final. We've noticed some people who were given a stick have kind of quietly removed some comments and stuff like that. But how have you felt, man? How did you enjoy the games today?
Yeah, absolutely. It was definitely the the Dingle game. Dingle Brigids game was definitely more exciting probably than Ballygunner Loughrea. Ballygunner Loughrea probably went, I think how we all called it really. Like we all expected Ballygunner to win relatively comfortable, but not like too comfortable where it was an absolute hammering or anything like that. You'd say Ballygunner's win was very controlled. Never really looked like losing the game ever. There was a few times the gap went down to 2 or 3, but even at that, they still felt quite comfortable and always felt like there was another level to go up on. And then, with Dingle Brigids, you don't really know where to start. Like, it had absolutely everything. And it was definitely one of the best All-Ireland finals in recent memory, I think, to be honest with you. I know the new rules have really helped in regards to that. But it was just an absolute cracker. Like, and the fact that Brigids came back and then, like Dingle looked dead and buried, then they came back. Like it was an unbelievable game. And two cracking games and definitely a lot to go through.
We certainly have a lot to go through. And big shout to Peter Griffin, to Gavin O'Reilly, who are leading the charge in the comments. If you are new to the show, guys, get involved in the discussion. Let us know what your highlights from the weekend were, which moments jumped out to you, etc., etc. Matthew, what were your highlights of the weekend?
Ironically enough, the highlights all came from yesterday, not today, to be honest with you. As a car person, you have to put context on this. Ballygunner and Dingle winning All-Irelands isn't my cup of tea, I'll be honest with you. Just Kerry clubs and Ballygunner, obviously. To be fair, like SARS did beat Ballygunner, so we have shown that we can beat Ballygunner in many ways, but Dingle, it hurt, I'll be honest with you. But yesterday was quite a good day. I was at the West Cork Sports Star Awards, absolutely brilliant event over the weekend. A lot of interviews with GA personalities on the way this week at the Southern Stars instant social channels, so look out for those. And a game that we'll probably discuss later on in the show, Cork beating Kerry in the McGrath Cup, finally winning a game in Killarney. And yes, lads, we're winning the All-Ireland, I'll put it that way. But it was a good day yesterday, not so good today, but we move.
Liam, what was your highlights of the weekend?
I suppose the two games today, especially the football, I have to agree with Aaron. I think that was the best club football game I've seen in a long time. It's probably, I said a long time, probably in 2 weeks, because the Dingle Ballygunner game was fantastic as well. But thoroughly enjoyed. I enjoyed both games, to be fair, today. I thought they were both good in their own respective ways. Obviously, look, the hurling in the end, in the second half, Ballygunner showed their class and they pulled away. But the football, I mean, my God, you couldn't take your eyes off it. It was the way football should be played, to be honest with you. Everyone going hammer and tongs at each other. Neither side really deserving to lose, to be honest with you. The two of them just giving absolutely everything. The storylines that were written today from both sets of teams was fantastic. And I suppose over the weekend, even from the inter-county scenes, seeing Kildare put up a big fight to Kilkenny in the Shield final is something to behold, to be fair. And Kilkenny had a decent looking team out there today as well, and the Kildare put up a great fight against them. So maybe there's hope for Kildare this year, both in the Leinster Championship and in Division 1B and everything like that. But a cracking weekend. Can't wait to get into it.
Well, let's stop the waffle and jump right into the action. We're going to start off with the All-Ireland Senior Club Football Championship final, which took place just there a couple of hours ago. And lads, as Liam put it, what a game this was. Dingle 23 points, St. Brigids 1 goal and 19 points after extra time in Croke Park. It's been a hell of a year for Dingle. I mean, Matthew, you put it as far as years go, Dingle winning the All-Ireland, the first All-Ireland in their history, in the same year that they won their first ever Munster Championship, and in the same year that they won their first Kerry County Championship in 77 years. as far as fairy tales go, they don't get much better than this.
Yeah, it's just a fantastic achievement more so for Dingle, and look at Mark O'Connor as well with his club in Geelong coming back and winning the All-Ireland is fantastic for him, and even for Gavin Curd as well. I see Paul Gainey talked to Marty Morrissey as well before coming on air, and he actually came back from Australia as well. He's living over with his partner over in Australia, so both of them came back to help their club and win the All-Ireland. It is fantastic in many ways, and for Mikey Gainey to get the winning score, it's great for him, I suppose, being there from a Dingle point of view for a long time now. They've been through a hard road, obviously, from the St. Finbarrs game, from the Ballybolton game, and now today as well. It's been an emotional journey. It's been a brilliant journey from themselves as well. And they're deserving All-Ireland champions. It is a brilliant win for them. Hard luck to Brigids. It was a difficult defeat to take for them. Rory Fallon was absolutely sensational. 1-6 from play from wing back. I don't think, if you score 1-6 from play from wing back, you probably don't deserve to be on the losing team. But we've said that so many times with Dingle throughout the campaign, like the performances of the Ballybolton lads, the performance of Sherlock for the Bars scored 16 points. But Dingle still find a way against these fantastic players. So look, it's a brilliant win from Dingle point of view. A lot of great storylines there as well, and deserving All-Ireland champions.
Yeah, you put it very, very well there, Liam. When you're talking about as well going through the fire, I don't think anybody really went through the fire more than Dingle did. Like when you look at how they even got to the final in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, they looked dead and buried in a way against St. Finbarrs in the Munster final. They were dead and buried, in my opinion, after the first 5 minutes against Ballyboden St. Enda's, and they turned it around. And again, today, they looked like the momentum was gone from them, especially in the first half of extra time. You were worried that final point in the last minute by Rory Fallon sort of demoralised them going into another 20 minutes of action. But no, their fight and their spirit and their energy and everything that you'd want from a side came to fruition in the end. And look, it's an unbelievable achievement for them, for Kerry clubs as well, to have won the intermediate, junior and senior All-Irelands, on top of Kerry winning the All-Ireland in 2025 as well. It's been a remarkable year for Kerry football. Look, a lot of us probably see Kerry as maybe the favourites, for the All-Ireland this year, even at this early stage. Obviously, a lot will depend on how the next few months go in the league, and, opinions could change, whatever. But, the just some of the performances today from some of the Kerry players. I'm such a big fan of Tom O'Sullivan. And even after the first couple of minutes, the audacity of him to kick a point from outside the boot at the angle he did in the opening couple of minutes, I was just like, here. Like, that's not fair. How were you able to do this? Like, this is ridiculous. But, players like him, Dylan Gainey, who I thought was absolutely fantastic as well. Mark O'Connor, you can see why he was wanted in Australia. He's an absolute freak of nature. In particular, I think what summed him up and summed up the spirit of Dingle today was his block towards the end, which controversially went out. And it's probably, in a way, a good thing Dingle won the game, considering Brigids got a 45 that they shouldn't have towards the end of the game. But his block to stop a certain goal from going in and putting Brigids 1 point in front was absolutely terrific, and just showed the heart of this team is Mark O'Connor in the middle of the park. But I was really impressed with Dingle, and I feel sorry for St. Brigids. I feel sorry for Anthony Cunningham. The poor lad just can't seem to catch a break when it comes to All-Ireland, whether it was with Galway in 15 or Brigids today, but listen, they can be very proud of their efforts. There was 2 fantastic teams out there today, and I think it makes all of our predictions, some of us going with Brigids, some of us going with Dingle. I don't think any of us can look back and say, do you know what, we were stupid to say that, or we were idiotic to predict this one or that one, because it went right down to the wire, and I'm really glad it did. It was a great final.
Yeah, I'm glad I wasn't on the preview episode. It would have been a difficult one to decide between the 2 teams. Now, when we come to the Ballygunner game, you know fine well I said Ballygunner right from the beginning would win the All-Ireland, so I would have said them. But the Dingle Brigids game, to be honest, hand on heart, I probably would have gone with Brigids to win. Very similar reason for Matthew, to similar to what you said, Matthew, about their experience and everything like that. And the reality is that going down the home stretch in extra time, I did think that Brigids would hang on. I thought that the game was there for them. I thought, especially when they pulled it back from the jaws of defeat with that wonder kick from Rory Fallon, I thought that, maybe it's going to be their day. But it wasn't to be. We've lots of comments flooding in, guys, which I love to see. Mike here says, man of the match in an All-Ireland club final as a goalkeeper is ridiculous. Class display, efficiency. Stephen O'Keefe was the main difference today. Loughrea are a very, very good team. Be surprised if they don't get one in the next few years. That's obviously about Stephen O'Keefe, who sensational display for Ballygunner in the hurling final, which we will get to in a bit. Liam here says Thomas Sullivan is a ridiculous player. Crazy to think Kerry didn't have him for the run into the All-Ireland. Some bottle with those 2 late scores to set up the win. And not only that, you sensed as well that, like, as a cornerback, this guy was like feared. That last play, did you notice that when Dingle equalised and the ball went over to Thomas Sullivan just before the ball got to Mikey Gainey, that the minute he got the ball, I was like, Jesus, Brigids are taking 5 steps back from him. Like, they're really, really nervous of him. And this guy is a cornerback. Like, on paper, he's supposed to be a cornerback. He's one of the most talented cornerbacks I've ever seen in terms of gallivanting forward and scoring. Like, have we ever seen a cornerback so good at attacking? I don't, like, off the top of my head, Billy McMahon was always good going forward, but again, different. Owen Merchant, but no, I think Thomas Sullivan is better than both of them. I think he's better than both. Keith Higgins, I think, is a great shout, actually. Keith Higgins was great going forward for Mayo and actually played at centre forward. Peter has a great shout. Ricey McMenamin. He was always very good bombing forward for Tyrone.
Lee Keegan maybe played.
Lee, but Lee was Lee ever a cornerback?
Yeah, it's a strange one. He was more wing back, but yeah.
They tried. They put him on Con in 2019. That didn't go so well. But back in the glory days, Aaron. Aaron, I will show this one to you. Peter puts it perfectly. That 2-pointer from Fallon. Still, you have to talk about the clutch moments. And when you're talking clutch, that 2-pointer from Rory Fallon.
Yeah, it was incredible, really. Like, I mean, I know, as Salim was saying, like, there definitely were some question marks over the original free from Conor Carroll. And they maybe got a little bit fortunate as well, that especially with the fact that it was so, such a short free, it barely had the distance at all, and they were able to recycle it. They played a little bit over the 5 minutes as well. But I think, to be fair, I think they deserved to at least have one more go, given that there was a bit of a stoppage with the freeze and everything else. And then, to get the ball, you could see straight away he was going to go for it, to have the bottle as well. Like, it's such a big pressure kick, because how many times we saw players balloon those chances and put them wide and everything else. But no, clean as day, outside of the boot, curls in, just absolutely outrageous. And like, it was mental, like, because the goal he scored obviously comes from a long ball that gets, an attempt at a 2-pointer, and he sort of gets on the end of it. But he gets that 2-pointer, and then at the start of extra time, it was like the game was just being played on his terms. Like, he was absolutely outstanding. He scored 3 points in the first half of extra time, another 2-pointer as well. It looked like he could do no wrong altogether. So, yeah, definitely someday for scoring defenders. And maybe with the new rules, we all said it would benefit the forwards, but maybe it's actually benefiting the defenders now as well. Like, maybe you might actually want to have, like a player who can kick 2-pointers playing away, a bit like in hurling, when you move a player back, because he can kind of get the range, and like what they've done with Tony Kelly, like the more he's evolved in his clear days, where he's kind of moved back to midfield. And maybe that's something we're going to see now in football, where actually, I know Thomas Sullivan by trade has been a cornerback. I wouldn't know too much about Rory Fallon in terms of where he started playing, but maybe that's something that teams might look at, because having that ability to kick 2-pointers and having players in those positions, like that could give you an advantage.
It certainly could. I think he's too good to be a cornerback, Thomas Sullivan. Like, I'd be looking at putting him wing back at least, if not wing forward, because just the way he's so calm and then so stylish when he gets in front of the post, and he has absolutely nailed that technique of, slicing across the ball and putting it over the bar. Like, it's just an unbelievable style that he has to his kicking. But Rory Fallon as well. What did you say, Matthew? 1-6 Rory Fallon scored. He must be sitting at home thinking, how on earth am I not an All-Ireland champion with Brigids? Like, he's literally done everything he can to get his team over the line. And the thing is that truly was, to use the old cliche, that truly was the type of game that you play it 10 times, Brigids win 5 times, Dingle win 5 times. Like, it literally was a grain of rice between the two teams. And yeah, your heart goes out to Brigids. The one thing I will say as well, they showed tremendous class at the end of the game. The way that Anthony Cunningham shook hands with the Dingle management team, the way that Rory Fallon shook hands with Paul Gainey. Paul Gainey showed great class there as well to go over to Fallon. But no complaints, even though, let's be honest, the game ended really weird with the referee bringing the ball back and everything. Like, it was a tough way for them to lose. but the way they handled it with grace and with class shows that they're a great club. Stephen Conlon here says Mark O'Connor is mad good. He would be some addition to Kerry if he ever came back. Them Aussie teammates of his will know what this win means to the Irish people. They'll be partying hard in West Kerry. They certainly will. Mike here says first Munster club double in senior hurling / football since 1996. Is this true, Matthew? That's an unbelievable stat if it is. I wouldn't know off the top of the dome if that is true, but if that's, like, obviously I'm assuming for all Ireland's. But anyway, we'll look at next part of the game. Apologies, folks. We'll look at the next part of the game, and this is only because Gavin O'Reilly, good friend of the show, you've been commenting, Gavin, for a long time. I've never seen Gavin this upset about a match referee. So Gavin says, however, today with McNally, that was an absolute feckin' disgrace. Brian Stack elbowed in the face and completely ignored. Absolutely feckin' ridiculous and cost Brigids and All Ireland. McNally should never be allowed to ref again. Effing fuming. So definitely, I haven't seen Gavin that wound up. Lads, McNally did make some questionable decisions. The one that I clocked was there was one, and I threw it into the group chat. There was one with Ben O'Carroll where I genuinely was like, how was that not a free in to St. Brigids? And there was a couple of them that he didn't give frees in. But was he equally as inconsistent for both teams? Like, how did you rate the referee's performance? Liam, I'll go to you for this.
It was a strange one, I suppose. First of all, the incident at the end, I still am confused about what was actually going on there, because you just saw every substitute and every manager and everyone from Dingle on the pitch. I'd say nearly the fans themselves were nearly on the pitch. And then everyone's getting barked up.
I thought he was given a free out. I genuinely thought he was given a free out.
What I loved, actually, what I kind of loved was the fact that they just kicked the ball wide. They didn't care. It reminded me of when Japan bet South Africa in the Rugby World Cup, and your man just missed his conversion because he did not give a shit because they were after beating him. He's like, I don't care if I score this or not. But could
that be seen as a bit of class from Gainey to not add it on another point?
I suppose so. Yeah, I mean, they didn't need it. You know, the match was won, so I suppose they didn't need it. But yeah, I thought that bit at the end was strange. The black card, I would say, probably was the right decision. I would say, watching it in real time, I probably would have given a black card myself. Obviously, hindsight's a great thing with the replays and everything. But yeah, I don't know. I thought he had a strange enough game. I thought he got a few decisions wrong. And the one you were mentioning there, Séamus, about a free in, I was the same. The two of us were there in the group chat going, how the hell is that not a free in? And it was a free out for Dingle at the time. I was absolutely bemused, to be honest with you. Yeah, I don't know. I thought he had a strange game. I thought he made some funny calls. I think he made one or two right calls, absolutely. And look, I know obviously it's more your umpires you're looking to, but even at the end when Brigids got the 45 as well, when they shouldn't have, you know, I think you got to be consulting your umpires at that moment, because that's such a crucial part in the game. So I don't know. I thought he had a bit of an indifferent game. I'll say that much. I wouldn't say he was great. I think he got one or two calls right, but I think I think he could have done better. I'll say that much.
Yeah, I do think some decisions were poor, but I do think the way that the game was being played at such a high tempo, I think it was difficult to referee that game. That's what I will say, is that when the ball is flying around like that and everybody's going in so hard for everything. Gavin says, I agree with the black card with Frost completely, but it's just the fact Stack Gainey incident was right after, which was the problem. I'll go into this one. Dylan here says, I was at both the All-Ireland matches today, but I thought that was the best football All-Ireland football final I've seen in person. That 2-pointer by Fallon was superb. Dylan, I'd love to get your thoughts on what the atmosphere was, because one thing I clocked, I don't know about yours, the attendance seemed a bit bigger this year than it has for previous All-Ireland club finals. It seems to be becoming, I'd say, regaining that status as being a date that neutrals get up to Croke Park to go watch the All-Ireland club finals. Matthew, other highlights from the game, obviously we talked about the Fallon 2-pointers being clutch, but my God, there were other clutch moments. I mean, one that really stands out for me that isn't being talked about that much, even though this guy is being talked about, Mark O'Connor's block on Brian Stack when he was going for goal right at the end. Like, those are the stuff that heroes are made out of when he got down and blocked. It was very like Paddy Keenan's block in that Leinster final in 2010, obviously before the madness happened, but the block down itself, it was just unbelievable stuff. The way such a big man got down so quickly. and made a crucial intervention.
It was a brilliant block, to be fair. And he has done that throughout the whole season. Mark O'Connor has been a feature of his game. There were some big moments. Obviously, the Fallon 2-pointer was fantastic as well. You look at other moments from a Dingle point of view, like Dylan Gainey's point right after the Rory Fallon 2-pointer in extra time. I think that was a crucial score to keep Dingle in the game, and eventually got them over the line in the end. I think Mark O'Connor, like, he has shown throughout the whole season that he does care for his club. It is a fantastic achievement from his point of view as well, and he's happy enough to come back from Australia to help his club. It's absolutely brilliant to see in terms of that. In terms of Gavin's comments about the ref, I'm a bit puzzled, to be honest with you. Look, you had the Mark O'Connor block. It shouldn't have been a 45. The black card for Pierce Frost is a black card. If anything, I think the ref was more against Dingle than Brigids. So I don't know where that complaint is coming from, to be honest with you. You look at the stats, Brigids had a 48% shot conversion rate. Maybe they just didn't have a good day in front of the post at all. Ben O'Carroll wasn't up to his usual tricks. I don't think Bobby Nugent was that great either. Rory Fallon was good, Shane Canan was good, but you needed other players to step up. And I don't think Dingle, I know Brigids took Dingle all the way, in fairness, but I don't think enough of the Brigids players stepped up. Whereas you look at Dingle, Dylan Gainey stepped up, Paul Gainey stepped up, Mark O'Connor, Thomas Sullivan, they all stepped up in this game. And that was the key moment. The key moments I thought, the star men standing up. I don't think Brigids did that at all in this game. They only won 9 turnovers out of a possible 27 as well, which probably isn't good enough to win the game either. So maybe the Dingle support or the Brigids supporters probably should be looking more at the statistics rather than blaming the ref all the time. I don't think Mark Manali had a particularly bad game. He had a few bad decisions, but I think the bad decisions affected Dingle more than they did Brigids.
Yeah, I think it's more just the timing of that free, because I think the timing of the free was at an important stage of the game and it would have pushed Brigids further out. I think you can get that sense in the fan when the game is in the melting pot like that. You can get a sense of like, oh my God, that, if we'd been given that free, that would have pushed us a little bit extra ahead and emotions are running high and everything like that. Look, I said it as well. I think McNally didn't have his greatest game, but I wouldn't say that he had a terrible performance. I do think it was a tough game to ref, and I think he did a decent job. My thing with it is I didn't know what that was at the end, because genuinely, here was my thought process at the end there. Genuinely thought he'd given a free out to Brigids first, and then I thought, oh my God, can you imagine if he gives a free out to Brigids, this goes to penalties, and Dingle lose on penalties? Like, holy shit, we are going to see mental stories if this comes out. Then I thought that it was a free in, but the point wasn't going to stand and that Paul Gainey was going to tap it over for a winner. So then when Paul Gainey, Liam, as you mentioned, when Paul Gainey blasted it wide, for a split second in my head, I go, he's missed it. He's missed it. Oh my God. Penalties it is. And then I thought, oh, okay, cool. Because what happened was I'm not sure if the scoreboard updated or whatever, but either way, it was kind of confusing and no one really knew what was going on. And then they just got back to celebrating. So I was like, oh, okay, you just had to kick the ball out of play. But yeah, there's a lot to discuss about this game. The reality is, when you get to a club final, the game just takes on a life of its own, clearly. But Brigids still, Matthew, I know you brought up the stats and everything like that, and you can't argue when you give the numbers like that. But the reality is they were still damn close. Like, when you look at, like, in extra time, they were leading going down the home stretch. What was the difference makers, do you think?
They just didn't close it out, I don't think. And I think they made a few, on the line as well, they made a few strange decisions. I know Ben O'Carroll didn't have his best game, but bringing him off about 10 minutes to go in normal time, that to me was very, very strange. He's one of Roscommon's main players. You're in trouble in an All-Ireland final. Why are you taking him off? Bobby Nugent, the same, very exciting young player.
Brian Derwin was taken off too.
Brian Derwin, like, why are you bringing off these exciting young forwards when your club needs them? Why are you doing it?
They did the same thing in the semi-final, I remember we were saying too.
Yeah.
But in the semi-final, at least there's an excuse because they were closing out the game. They needed to get some scores to win the game against Dingle today, and they just brought him off for no reason. I don't get it, to be honest with you. I really don't get it at all. And I think that came back to bite them viciously today. And you look at their shooting accuracy as well. Like, they made some pretty poor decisions, like shooting for 2-pointers when they shouldn't have shot for 2-pointers. They should have worked the ball even more as well. I just think Dingle made better decisions in front of the post than Brigids did, and that's why Dingle won the game. I just feel like Brigids, it was unusual because Brigids were in an All-Ireland final 2 years ago, and he didn't think they'd be the team to panic. But Dingle were the team that stayed calm. It was kind of strange in its own right, but yeah, you have to question as well, will Brigids ever learn from this? Because that's 2 All-Ireland final losses in 3 years now. Will they ever get back to this stage? It is going to be difficult for them, I think. This was probably a big chance for them this year. Watty Graham's Glen, you could argue, okay, fair enough. Glen lost the final to Kilmacuddy. It was their time. You were thinking it was their time this year for Brigids, and they didn't take their chance. So you're wondering in the next few years, will they get to that stage again? It's going to be very difficult to see.
This reminds me a lot of, when Galway lost to Armagh in 2024, and it hit a lot more than the Kerry lost 2 years earlier, because when Brigids lost to Glen, you're right, Glen had lost to Kilmacud Crokes in the All-Ireland final the year before, and everyone was saying at the time, look, that was Kilmacud's time. But then when Glen came back, it was seen as like, this is Watty Graham's Glen's time. So when Brigids lost to them, it was like, don't worry, very young team, you'll win an All-Ireland. But it's usually the second final defeat that like hits a bit deeper, because this one was supposed to be your time. And it was the type of game that I genuinely do believe you play that again, Brigids could just as easily win it. I think Shane Canan was outstanding. I genuinely believe around the middle, I think he was absolutely brilliant. He performed one of the most picturesque pieces of high fielding in Croke Park I've ever seen. He caught the ball up and Mark O'Connor was going up with him. It was just unbelievable stuff. And it was the type of catch where I'm thinking, well, you're off to the AFL then. Like, if they're here watching Mark O'Connor and they see you pluck the ball out of the sky like that, you're probably off. Yeah. Don't give them ideas. Gavin's screaming down the comments, don't give them ideas. But Mike here says, last province doubles, Connaughton 2013, Ulster 2012, Leinster 2025, Munster was 1996 until today. If you want further info on that, Dublin, Galway and Cork have done doubles in the 1 year as well. That's very, very good stats. Gavin here saying his brother, this is about Ben O'Carroll, was better in the semi-final though, Matthew. I love Ben O'Carroll, but he wasn't performing. I don't blame Cunningham, sorry. I don't know why Ben O'Carroll was on freeze, or is he saying does blame Cunningham because I don't Cunningham? I'm confused, Gavin, sorry. Gavin says strong chance Brigids will be like Clon and Roscommon in the 1990s, 5 All-Ireland finals but didn't win one. Unfortunately, I hope Brigids can win one someday. Look, they're a club that are lucky in the sense that they do have an All-Ireland, because when you see how hard it is, and I was saying this to you, Liam, off air, I've never seen players cry the way that they cry when they lose an All-Ireland club final, because it does register. The chances of you getting back here with your club are very slim. Like, they are. Think of the teams that we have seen. Think of the sides that we've seen that are so damn good. Like Kilcoo seem to be there every year. They've only played in 2 All-Ireland finals. Do you know what I mean? But yet they seem to be there every year. Getting back there is so difficult, and that you have to win your county again, you have to win your province again, and then you have to win an All-Ireland semi-final to even get there. It's so difficult, and all of the things have to come together. And for Dingle, they did, Aaron. And going down that home stretch, I asked the same question to Matthew. I'm going to throw it over to you now. Going down that home stretch when the game was in the melting pot, Brigids had the lead. How did Dingle pull this back? And I know that they got the scores, but what was the key moments where it really turned for you?
Yeah, I think they had more big game performers. Like, they had more players who were able to do it in the big moments. In particular, like Tom O'Sullivan with the points at the end of normal time or the end of extra time. I think it was interesting with Ben O'Carroll. Like, he definitely wasn't performing. There's no question about that. Obviously, he is a very young player. I do think he dished out a heavy enough challenge at one point as well after he went for a 2-pointer, and then in clear frustration he dished out a heavy enough challenge ref gave a yellow, but it was on the spectrum. Do you know what I mean? Like, you could have seen black for that. I've seen other referees give red for that. So I think Anthony Cunningham probably was maybe protecting the player a little bit in the fear that he could get sent off just by the fact that the way that the game was going. But yeah, without question, I think Dingle had more big game performers. They obviously had Mark O'Connor, who stepped up big time as well, the Gainies, and it was just sheer willpower, to be honest with you. And I think for Brigids, they were brilliant in the first half at pressing up on Gavin Curran's kickouts. They were getting a huge amount of joy turning the ball over, and in particular, Shane Canan was absolutely outstanding in terms of fielding the ball and everything else. But I think Dingle rectified it hugely and took over the game really, kind of after that. So. I think in my opinion they'd more big players to step up, and it sounds simple, but they took their chances and Bridges didn't.
Last question I'll throw right back to you, Aaron. Where does this rank in terms of All Ireland Club Football Finals? We were discussing it compared to all of the other ones that came before. Bear in mind as well, it's the first ever All Ireland Club Football Championship final to be played with the new rules. Where does it rank compared to the other ones?
Jesus, yeah. I think certainly in this decade, I think it's the best one anyway. I know Crokes and Kilcue had a huge amount of drama and everything else that went with that, but I still don't think that was actually a particularly brilliant game. I know there was a late goal, but I don't think it was the best game. Maybe go back to some of the All-Ireland finals Vincent's were in. There was obviously some great games there. But yeah, to be honest with you, I'm thinking back and I think this might be the best one in my lifetime. I can't really think of any other ones. Usually club finals are quite cagey and everything else. I know when Crossmaglen played Gary Castle, there was a huge amount of drama in that, but even that was low scoring. Do you know what I mean? And that was just by the nature of how Gaelic football was, and the fact that it's obviously less. You're playing 60 minutes instead of 70 minutes, so there's a bit more jeopardy in terms of in terms of the end of the game and everything else. So yeah, it's hard to kind of think of another one. To be fair, what Gavin's saying there, Bridges Glen was a good game actually, to be fair, but I don't think it was on the spectrum of this game.
Yeah, I think this game probably was. It does come across like recency bias. I'm finding it hard to think of one recently anyway that tops this one. I think the Vincent's Castlebar Mitchell's game in 2014, I think that was a great game. That was a great All-Ireland final. But I think it's difficult to in terms of the intensity. I think the Crossmaglen Gary Castle game was fantastic, especially the replay when they played it down in the provincial ground. I can't remember exactly where, but I remember it was just bonkersly intense. And yeah, this game kind of had that energy to it as well. But I agree with you as well, Aaron, that going down the home stretch, Dingle just had more people who could pull the trigger for the big shots. Dylan Gainey, Paul Gainey, Mark O'Connor, Tom O'Sullivan, and Conor Gainey as well, I haven't even mentioned, a lot of people to take the shot. And the other thing as well, I think was key. I think their journey played a massive role in them getting over the line today, because you look at how they beat St. Finbarrs, they're right up against the ropes, they never panic. You look at Ballyboden in the semi-final, they're right up against the ropes, they never panic. So then when Brigids were leading going down the home stretch in extra time, this is where Dingle have lived for the last few months over the championship, on the ropes, and they managed to win again. Sensational stuff, sensational year. What an incredible achievement. Congratulations to all involved. Gorgeous, Dangany Coosh. Unbelievable stuff. We're going to move on. If anybody has any final questions, lads, anything you want to add to this game before we move on to the hurling?
No, Peter has a good question there about what's your one key takeaway from the club football champo.
Very good. Yeah, very good question. Aaron, do you want to take it away?
I think that Gaelic football is back, to be honest with you, with the new rules. I know we knew this already a little bit.
It's been back.
Yeah, it's been back. But one thing I've noticed with the new rules as well is teams don't know how to defend it. It was very evident today. Dingle were in front against Bridges towards the end, couldn't close the game out. And we saw similar between Dingle and Ballyboden. I know Bridges did well against Scottstown in regards to that, but even going back to the Munster final with Finbarrs and Dingle as well, and even some of the games in Dublin, remember Cúilín against Ballyboden, Cúilín were in front for all of that game. So it's actually bizarre. It feels like when you're in front, it's actually like that's one thing I've noticed. A lot of teams haven't been able to hold on to leads in the club championship this year.
Yeah. And do you know what I also noticed today? And we'll get on to this in the hurling. Ballygunner, Paddy Levy and Harry Ruddle especially, hand pass merchants. This pop, pop, pop off the hurl.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck is this? I'm like, are we trying to bring in hand passing into the game? Don't get me wrong, unbelievable achievement by Ballygunner winning the All Ireland, but please don't bring in this tap.
They've been doing this for years.
I remember that was kind of Levy's signature when he came into the Waterford team, that he was doing that back off the ball. And like, don't get me wrong, it's clever and it makes sense, but
it's effective.
It's a very, very, very effective, but it isn't very aesthetic. I think that's probably the idea. Anyway, Gavin here saying lastly.
One more thing as well about Peter with takeaways. 2 more takeaways. Number 1, Kerry are going to rule the roost.
Oh, Kerry, yeah, they're in a great position.
Yeah. And number 2 as well, is this the decline of Ulster football? Because I looked at, like, Ulster have lost 3. Like I'm saying, like, seriously, they lost 3 club championships. They didn't win the Tactical Kildare one. If they didn't even get to the final, that Limerick got to the final. They lost the Ireland. Donegal lost the final heavily to Kerry. They haven't really excelled under these new rules. You've had Ulster, say, columnists complain about the new rules. I feel like the new rules have set the decline for Ulster football as well. And you know what? I know, I dislike Kerry, obviously, they're Munster rivals and all that. But it's better to see high-profile football than defensive football. I will say it that way. Look, I enjoyed the Kerry Donegal final more than Armagh Galway, put it that way. I'd rather see David Clifford kick an unbelievable 2-pointer than see a seagull walk across the pitch. So look, Ulster football, dead in the water. Brilliant.
Completely forgot that happened.
I think, I think it's a little harsh to pin it all on Ulster. Like I think I think Peter here saying wins a change. Like everyone was playing defensive last year. Everyone was playing defensive, and it's kind of swung now. Everyone's playing attack, and I think Tyrone are a good example, especially if you look at like through the grades. They have a lot of unbelievably exciting attacking talent. It's just Kerry are brilliant, and the reality is that I know that Kerry went through Armagh, Tyrone, and Donegal to win the All Ireland,
and Cavan.
And Cavan, but if they guess what? If Mayo, Galway, and Dublin were standing in their way, they would have beaten all 3 of us. Like I don't know. Like I do think, don't get me wrong, I do think attacking football massively suits what Kerry have right now. The talent and the forwards that they have the best player I've ever seen in David Clifford. And, you know, having a system where he can't really be double marked anymore as much as he used to be, it does massively suit them. And the reality is you can't take away that when Armagh did win the All-Ireland, defensive football was king. That was the way to play. But that's why the game needed to be changed. And thank God it has, because let's be honest, lads, every game now, more or less, it feels like is a bit of a thriller. Like the ones, like, do you remember the Tailteann Cup semi-final between Kildare and Fermanagh? That was the outlier in the year. Yeah, that was like, wow, that was actually not a good game. Like, we're expecting good games now from Gaelic football, and how blessed are we with these? Gavin here saying, Matthew, they won everything last year. How could they build spin that? I don't. Kerry decimated Ulster with the new rules, says Dylan Duffy. And Peter says Ballygunner also a tennis stronghold, which we'll jump into here. The shots are firing in this one. But anyway, I don't know how I didn't mention this as well, actually, lads. Paul Gainey's speech at the end. I mean, talk about a man with leadership. Like, you're listening to him. Agus Matong Gael Goggett, you'll understand every word he's saying there. You're like, that's a fucking captain. Like, that's someone that could speak to the lads in the dressing room and get people up for war in an All-Ireland final. Like, that guy, just, he has that energy that he is just a captain. He's a leader. And you look at up front, like, what age is Gainey now? 35?
35, 36, yeah.
And he still looks unbelievable for Dingle. And like, the reality is his leadership, I've no doubt, was vital for them, and his speech was unbelievable. Yeah. We will. Sorry, Gavin is correct in this point. He said, build upon that. He said, apologies. Gavin says, so it says, Matthew, they won everything. How could they build upon that? So that actually makes sense. But I do agree, Matthew, with your point that the pendulum has very much swung, and it's actually more impressive than what Ulster did last year, because Ulster won it all last year. Kerry themselves have won it all this time. So even as a dub, you have to tip your hat to that. We'll
next
move
year,
on.
Leinster year.
Yeah. Next year we'll get them back. But we'll come back to us when you do a 6 in a row. Anyway, Dylan says, with the new rules, though, there was quite a lot more one-sided matches, though. Donegal Louth and Meath, Tyrone versus Dublin, Kerry versus Armagh in those 15 minutes. I do agree. There was more kind of one-sided contests, but at least they were kind of high-scoring one-sided contests. Like back in the day, the one-sided contests would just be a team getting 6 or 7 points ahead and then hand-passing the ball around until the time ran out. Now they're actually playing more attacking football. Peter says Gainey is the Kerry captain for this season, I think. Well, if he is, he absolutely suits the role. But anyway, we'll wrap that game up there. The 2025-26 All-Ireland Club Football Championship season has come to an end. Dingle are the All-Ireland champions. Unbelievable achievement. Congratulations to all involved. Before we move on, lads, I actually don't know the answer to this. Who did the best prediction-wise out of all of us?
I got Brigids right and Connacht, but that's it, I think.
What? You got Brigids winning Connacht. I got Ballyboden winning Leinster.
I think I just had a mare.
We'll discuss this later in the group chat, but we didn't get the All-Ireland winners correct. No. Anyway,
I was robbed in Kerry. I'll say that much. I'm robbed. That Kerry system is terrible. I was robbed from Dr. Crokes, but I'm not.
You got half of it right. I said Dr. Crokes would win Munster. And again, similar to yourself, they look to have 1 foot in, and then I remember Matthew sending in. I was proper banking on East Kerry to win the county championship the way they had in years before. And then Matthew, I remember you sending in the message that Dr. Crokes were gone, or sorry, that East Kerry were gone, and Dingle were through. And I just remember being like, well, there goes that dream. But anyway, we'll move on to the All-Ireland Hurling Final. Ballygunner get their sweet second. First time was so nice, they've gone and done it twice. Ballygunner 120, Loughrea 114 in Croke Park. All-Ireland champions for 2025-26. Matthew, it is an unbelievable achievement from them. And as we put out on our Twitter page from Cúilín Media, the whispers of Ballygunner being an all-time great team, they're gone now. You cannot underestimate what they've done. Coming into this final, a lot of people were talking about Ballygunner. A lot of people were saying Ballygunner have underachieved what they've done. With this All-Ireland, the whispers of Ballygunner underachieving, they're gone. 2 All-Irelands, 4 Munsters in the last 5 years, and 12 Waterford championships in a row. There is no question they're one of the all-time great club sides.
And only 1 loss in championship hurling since 2023, outright. That's outstanding in many ways from a Ballygunner point of view. And even that game could have gone either way against Stars and Thurles. Look, this Ballygunner team are very, very good. They're very consistent. You have other players stepping up. We talked about Brigids earlier, about their players not stepping up. And yes, Shane Canan and Rory Fallon stepped up, but not many of their forwards. You could Ballygunner, Patrick Fitzgerald, while he did score 2 points, he was clearly carrying an injury, I thought. He was injured for most of the game. I think Jason Ryan made the right decision in bringing him off. But Mikey Manny was outstanding. I thought Kevin Manny in full forward was absolutely superb. Dacey didn't have his best game. He scored 9 goals and 77 points, so I don't think he owes anything to the Ballygunner players in many ways as well. But as we said in the preview during the week, Conor Sheehan, Peter Hogan, these are hard-working, grafting lads. Harry Ruddle, what an inspiration. I know he's well known for that goal against Ballyhead Shamrocks. He probably will be known for that forevermore, but he is a very good hurler as well. And what was interesting as well from Jason Ryan's point of view, I think it was about 55 minutes in, and Ballygunner only made one sub, and that was Patrick Fitzgerald going off because of an injury. The way these players keep going until the very end, you have to commend them. They are a very, very good side. Even the guy that came on, Mark Hartley, calmed things down a small bit as well. And even when Darren Shaughnessy scored the goal in the first half, I don't think Ballygunner panicked in any way. They started the second half very, very well. They shot very well in the first half, which is why they were ahead by a point at halftime against Loughrea. Look, Loughrea had more chances. I think they had missed some bad chances, I think, in the first half. And I was thinking to myself, this is going to come back to bite them, because Ballygunner are just going to keep on their level. They're going to hit a purple patch in the third quarter, and that's exactly what they did. They're an absolutely superb team. They're a top-class team in the country as well. And look, they are deserving All-Ireland champions. They probably should have won more than one. They now won two as well. And they're going to keep going in Waterford, let's be honest. Like, their B team won the intermediate championship. Like, the rumours are they aren't allowed in the senior championship, which is a relief for others in Waterford, I'm assuming, and just a relief for the Waterford County Board, I'm assuming, as well, because, like, imagine the final between Ballygunner's A team and Ballygunner's B team, which would have been a possibility. But look, they're an absolutely superb side. Jason Ryan hasn't changed much from what Darragh Sullivan has done as well. They're a very, very good side. They're one of the best sides ever to grace All-Ireland Hurling Championship, much like Ballyhead Shamrocks as well. And the consistency of them, it has to be commended. They are a fantastic team. And even the likes of Barry Coughlin, who retired in the past few seasons, done well without him. Ian Kenny's gone into full back, and it's almost like he wasn't a normal centre or cornerback. He was made for the role of full back. Philip Manny, again, like a lot of people talk about making Philip Manny's job a lot more easier for putting balls straight in front of him. But he's just in the right place at the right time each and every time he goes on the field. I think Stephen O'Keefe, not just his saves, he made 3 crucial saves, but the way he varied his puck-outs. He was going short, he was going long. He trusted Peter Hogan and Conor Sheehan would win them long as well. And the way he interacted with the likes of Ty Foley and Aaron O'Neill in cornerback positions, and the way he got the ball back, I thought it was absolutely superb as well. And look, he is a miss for Waterford. If Waterford had, I know Sean O'Brien's an excellent goalkeeper, but if Waterford had Stephen O'Keefe, that's almost like an extra outfielder. And he's so good at playing that role as well. And he showed what a good shot stopper he was today. So look, it's a fantastic achievement for Ballygunner. I think we talk about Paul Gainey's speech and how good it was. I think the speech by the Ballygunner joint captain, I'm not sure was it Peter Hogan or Mikey Maddy, it was one of them too. They referenced Darragh Sullivan actually in the past few seasons, and he's been the guy that has built Ballygunner all the way up, in fairness. I know Jason Ryan's taken the reins this season, but the way they paid tribute to him, to Darragh Sullivan as well, I thought it was utter class for the Ballygunner joint captain. And look, it just epitomised what a great kind of club they are as well, in how they keep going with their success. And look, I think they could even win more, maybe 3, maybe 4. They are a fantastic club. It will be a difficult side to beat next season. They'll win Waterford. I don't think that's a discussion. Will they win Munster again? Look, the Pearshig will be up there. Hopefully one of the Cork champions, SARS or somebody like that, will be up there. Lockmore or somebody from Tipperary, I'm sure, will be up there as well. So look, it will be difficult for Ballygunner to achieve back-to-back Munsters next year. But look, what they've done over the past few seasons has been remarkable anyway. And yeah, they're a fantastic club.
They are. They're absolutely unbelievable. There's no question about it. Peter here saying Socky, the OG hurling quarterback. There's no question about it. I mean, Liam, when you're talking about what makes a goalkeeper unbelievable, Matt, you mentioned there, shot stopping, but also that it's like having an extra outfielder. You couldn't help but notice it in the game. Every time Ballygunner were under pressure, they always had Stephen O'Keefe as an option to go back to restart the play. Like, his impact on the team is just tremendous.
Yeah, like he's a leader on that team as well. There's no question about it. Like, he's the way, I mean, I'll be fair, like, I think even what tells a lot about him as a goalkeeper and the confidence I'd say even the defense would have in him is that, like, they were good shots that were shot at him by the likes of Anthony Burns, but yet to him, like, you may as well have been pucking the ball to him, you know, it absolutely does not faze him at all, you know, like, and his poke outs, the way he's, you know, set up in play, and he's a crucial part of the play and setting up the attacks and building out from the back, etc. Ballygunner is absolutely fantastic. No, I was really impressed with him today. In fairness to him, couldn't do anything about the goal that actually went in. To be fair, you just couldn't do anything about that. But I think after that, I thought he was absolutely sensational and a big reason why Ballygunner are where they are at the moment. But I mean, some of the players that you mentioned there in the mid, I particularly think in the midfield as well. I mean, that's an inter-county midfield there in Sheehan and Levy. They're like brick walls, to be honest with you, but their fitness levels are absolutely off the charts. Ronan Power, Harry Ruddle, they're sensational wing backs. Even Desi Hutchinson, he only scored 1 point today, but even then, it was like watching, even it's an outrageous thing to be saying this, but it was like watching Zidane with the way his passing was and his setting up plays and his skill and his movement, everything. Like, it just shows you, like, it's why you should always, I always find it hard to judge a player, say, only scoring 1 point in a game if I haven't watched a game, because I'm like, well, what did he do aside from the scoring? And he did so much to help build attacks. His work rate, everything today was absolutely magnificent. And like Kevin Mahoney, the scores he was putting over as well, especially there was 1 or 2 in the first half, just over the shoulder off the left-hand side, relative ease to him. And yeah, no, some of them today were just absolutely fantastic. It is amazing with Ballygunner, because you would just wonder how Waterford nearly aren't better, to be honest with you. Like, you're wondering how many of these players are going to go into the Waterford setup this year, you know, or how many have left, etc. Whether they're told to go in or not, I don't know. But yeah, like they're a fantastic team. And look, I know I've criticized them a bit, or I've not been their biggest fan this season or whatever. But look, in fairness to them, like, once I saw them beating St. Martin's the way they did in the second half, and I saw them beating SARS and beating Aerogue in the fashion that they did, I think I just had to concede that, look, they'll beat Loughrea. Like, I have no issue saying that now. They'll beat them. And look, Loughrea put up a great fight, and I'm delighted to see that they did. And especially at half-time, it could have gone either way. It absolutely could have. And look, Loughrea probably missed chances that they're going to be looking back on with massive regret today, to be honest with you. But overall, I don't think anyone could deny that Ballygunner were the better side. And like Matthew said there, I mean, they're just not losing Waterford. Let's be frank and honest about it. Nobody's coming close to them in Waterford next year. In terms of Munster, look, they'll have a target on their back once again. They'll be the hunted again. And like I mentioned there in the Piercing, you know, look, I predicted Doon to win the Munster Championship this year. They'll want to go back and win the Limerick Championship this year after narrowly missing out. Sarsfields, obviously, could Middleton come back, win the Cork Championship? Could Glen Rovers win the Cork Championship? We'll have to wait and see. Lockmore, Toomevara, you know, these types of teams, Aerogue in Clare. So they'll have competition next year. There's no question about it. But yeah, look, I mean, like we said earlier, the achievements that they've had over the last couple of years is absolutely remarkable. They're up there now with the great Ballyhale teams, the great Burr teams of the past. If they can add another All-Ireland, there could be the discussion. Well, no, okay, for me, I still think Ballyhale will exceed them, but there could be the discussion, are they maybe the second best team of all time? Because I still think Ballyhale are still out and out the greatest club team of all time, just with everything that they've achieved over the years. But yeah, look, terrific performance from them overall. And yeah, overall, they're deserved All-Ireland champions.
Yeah, well put. Peter has a question for you, Liam. He says it's a key point, Liam. To what extent will Ballygunner's win elevate Waterford's stature?
Well, look, I feel like a lot of clubs in every county has this issue of lads not going into the county setup when they probably, well, not should be. Look, lads have their own lives and they're doing their own things outside the pitch, etc. So there's always going to be a reason why a lad won't go in. But I do just think, especially with Waterford over the last number of years, how narrowly close they've come to getting out of Munster. I know they finished 5th nearly as every year since, you know, the round robin series started, but like they've been close on a lot of occasions to get now. Even last year, I mean, like they were doing well against Tipperary last year to a degree until Tipperary, you know, got their couple of scores towards the end. They used their bench well and saw them off. They were only 6 points off Cork down in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. They beat Clare, and then look against Limerick. Limerick were just absolutely on fire that night down in Walsh Park. But then you think other years, like they've been close. They have been close. 2022 was probably the year for me where they'd be looking back on massive regret of not getting out of Munster, to be honest with you. That was the year for me where they were narrowly beaten by Limerick in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. I think they were probably favourites against Cork down in Walsh Park. Correct me if I'm wrong, Matthew, that day. I think that was the day Patrick Horgan was dropped to the bench, and yet Cork they outplayed them that day. They destroyed them, to be honest with you, in every aspect. So I just feel like at this stage, Waterford, they need to be targeting getting out of Munster this year, and they would need the Ballygunner players to get them there, because otherwise it's going to be another tough year for them, to be honest with you. And look, it could be a tough league campaign for them already. I know they did, you know, they performed relatively well enough in their preseason final yesterday in the Munster League against Limerick, but I just feel like they're going to need a load of those Ballygunner players to go in. But I think it's an issue with a lot of counties, with a lot of club teams, maybe players not going in or whatever. But I suppose that's a story for another day.
I think they've been unfortunate that they're in the Munster Championship, which is like the highest standard of competition. I think the most cutthroat competition that is in Gaelic games, to be honest. Like maybe after the All-Ireland Club Championships, when you get out of your respective county, that like obviously you have one bad day, you're gone, or one bit of luck and you're gone. I think probably the club is a little bit more cutthroat. But like, to be honest, we've seen over the last couple of years Galway go through out of the Leinster Championship when we've all sat around here saying Galway aren't playing at the level that they're capable of. Yet, like twice now, Waterford have gone out of the Championship in the Munster stage, where you're thinking, God, they were playing really, really well. So they've been unfortunate, they've been unlucky. The standard in Munster is just so high that if you slip up once, you're gone. And Matthew, you've seen it firsthand with how good Cork were. 2023 is the year that jumps to mind, when you lost to Limerick by a point and went out of the Championship. Like that was, it's evidence that kind of whoever gets out, and that's we see it time and time again in the Club Championship, that while yes, Dingle hadn't won the Munster Championship, they hadn't won the All-Ireland, you could see it in Kerry that like this side are a good team. And if they can get out of Kerry, they will take some stopping in the All-Ireland series because they have the players that they have and everything like that. Now, I will show this over, and this is a brave prediction, but hear me out, right? Just hear me out on this. I actually don't think Ballygunner are going to win Munster next year, and I'll tell you why. All right, so they needed this second All-Ireland, and it was a donkey on their back for so long. This whole talk about them underachieving, and for what they've got, they're underachieving. That second All-Ireland, you could see it in their celebrations, was a massive relief. Massive relief. And Liam Rush, the way that Liam Rush was talking about how Na Fianna, won that Dublin Championship, and then they went out to St. Martin's, and then he was on TG Cahard the next day out, and he was asked about it, and he did point at burnout. He just said, look, it's really, really difficult to keep going. It's really difficult that when you've got to the top of the mountain and you've achieved what was your ultimate goal, it's really, really, really hard to go again. And we see it time and time again in the Club Championship. That's why Ballyhale stand out. That's why Currafin stand out. That's why Kilkerran and Clonbyrne stand out, because going back to back is kind of very rare. And that's why these teams always stand out. Ballygunner have been to the top of the mountain and they've got that donkey off their back. I don't see them having the same motivation next year as Doon will have, as SARS will have, as Nepirshig will have. Do you get what I mean? I think in a wide, hot battle in the Munster Championship, similar to when you beat the Matthew in that, crazy game, I could just see someone having that Ballygunner might have lost by winning the All-Ireland. Is that too harsh? Because Aaron, we seen it firsthand in the Dublin final. Lucan had Na Fianna on the ropes and they still had enough to get over the line. But it seemed to me that day like Lucan would have put their head in where you wouldn't put a crowbar in to get over the line, whereas Na Fianna just had a bit more class and that got them over the line that day. But if you're going on grit and determination and will and who was getting more out of what they had, Lucan were definitely getting more out of what they had than what Na Fianna were.
Yeah, well, it definitely will be tough, all right. Like winning back-to-back Club All-Irelands, like it rarely ever happens. Like even in hurling, thinking of recent memory, like you had Ballyhale, Cúilín, Port Humna maybe in the 2000s, Athenroy kind of early on. Like there's been very few kind of club teams that have actually gone and done it. It is a very, very difficult one to do. But the only thing is with Ballygunner, this is their second one in the last kind of couple of years. Like this, it's not like they've got their first one. Like with Na Fianna, they got their first one. Sometimes when you get your first one, like there always is a bit, an inevitable kind of hangover the following season. You see it even at inter-county level as well when you win one and end a long drought or something of that nature. The fact that this is their second one in 4 years or something of that nature. As we mentioned previously, they lost one game on penalties. The other game was the SARS. I think it's up to them, to be honest with you. I think they have when you look at the ability and actually how comfortable they won games this year. Like even today, like I don't even think they got out of third gear today. Like they still had another level to go up on. There was times when they played in Nepirshig earlier in the year where they didn't look brilliant, but when they stepped it up, they were brilliant. We saw what they did against SARS when that was probably arguably their best performance, like outside of Waterford. So, you know, like they do have another level to go up on. So I think it's more probably of a mental aspect within themselves in terms of if they were to get beat. Look, there are some phenomenal club teams there. It won't be easy. It'll be tough. You just never know. On any given day, you can get caught, as we've seen in previous seasons, even when they got beat by SARS a couple of years ago. But I think they've more than enough quality, in my opinion, to go and win another one. But I think back-to-back is definitely something they'll be targeting because, you know, like I don't think you can definitively say you can have them in the conversation right now as one of the best, but they are the best. You know what I mean? You'd probably look at Ballyhale, and look, there's probably still a bit to go for that to happen.
Yeah. Mike here says the greatest club teams I've ever seen. 1 Ballyhale from 2018 to 2023, 2 Portumna from 2006 to 2014, 3rd Burr from 1994 to 2003, 4th Athenry from 1997 to 2001, and 5th Ballygunner from 2018 to the present. They're all great shouts. Like, you forget how good that Portumna team was with the Cannings and Damien Hayes, and like you really would forget just how talented that side was. Peter here says, could Ballygunner out-goat Ballyhale? I think they could do it. I'm just saying, I think that Ballygunner will win another. I just don't think it will be next year. I think you look at the talent that they have, Pat Fitzgerald, Connor Tobin, Mark Hartley, like these lads aren't going anywhere. But for the Philip Mahonys and people like that maybe are heading towards the twilight. I think this one is the sweet one where you won it again. And I really do believe that next year, you look at how good Doon are, you look how good SARS are, and the bit between the teeth that sides like that will have, especially if they get out of their respective counties, it's going to be tough to win Munster. Like, genuinely, it's got to the point where I believe that if they win Munster, they'll win the All-Ireland. But if they can get caught, I think it's most likely to be in that Munster semi-final, quarter-final, final type stage of the championship. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. There's an exceptional team, and it'll be interesting to see how they move on from here. Matthew, speaking of moving on, Loughrea, of course, we have to look at the other side. Loughrea had an outstanding year, Galway champions again, got over the line in the semi-final, which they didn't do last season. They fell agonisingly short to Nafina last year. This time, they beat Slotneil in Parnell Park, came into the All-Ireland final as underdogs. They were good in the first half. There's no question about it. They were toe-to-toe with Ballygunner, got a great goal as well. Then in the second half, especially in that third quarter, Ballygunner, to me, seemed like they just know when to strike. That goal was a crucial goal, crucial score in the game, and they just never, like Pádraig Mahoney always seemed to get a free at a key moment and tap it over. What were the moments that went wrong for Loughrea? Because it definitely went wrong in that second half. There were moments where things could have gone in their favour that didn't. Like, for example, do you remember that moment where Johnny Cohn played a great pass? I can't remember what forward it was for Loughrea, and Stephen O'Keefe came off the line and stopped it. What were the key moments that went against Loughrea in the second half?
Well, the key moment was probably the goal by Mikey Mann. It was well taken. It's sort of a goal that Loughrea couldn't do much about, to be honest, but it was just great interplay for Ballygunner. And sometimes you have to hold your hand up and just say we're beaten by a better team on the day. Look, Loughrea, they lost the semi-final to the final last year. They lost the final this year. Look, they'll be back. They are an excellent side. And you know how, like, winning the Galway Championship, unless the structure changes with Turin going into the Connacht Championship next year, they'll still get out of Galway pretty easily. And once they get out of Galway, obviously, if they get out of Galway, into an All-Ireland semi-final. So like, there's always a chance next season. I just don't think this year was their time. You look at Ballygunner, the way they put away St. Martin's, the way they put away the Pearshig, the way they put away SARS, I think that was more impressive than what Loughrea did. A lot of people might have disagreed with us during the week in terms of that and said Loughrea were better than maybe we were thinking. And it certainly proved that way in the first half at times. Ironically enough, I think in the first half they missed a world of chances. I think they put away Ballygunner. I think they had lots of chances. They had more shots than Ballygunner in the first half. I think I have to look at the figures now, but I just feel like they had a few chances in front of the post that you would usually put your house on putting over the bar. Like Shane Morgan in particular, the centre back, he's had a fantastic season, not doubting it. He's been deadly accurate from frees from even between the 265s. He missed one in particular. I think it was one in the central area and one out in the wing. And you're thinking, once those don't go over, when Shane Morgan usually converts them, it ain't your day. Tiernan Cúilín had another chance as well that he'd usually put over the bar. Sometimes when things are going wrong like that, it just isn't your day. And look, it will happen for Loughrea in the next few years. I'm sure that. Like, even look at the half-time stats there. Like, Loughrea had 20 shots. Ballygunner had 16. Ballygunner converted 12. Ballygunner had a 75% shot accuracy in the first half. When they were under the cosh, they delivered. You look at Loughrea, 9 shots converted out of 20. I think that was the winning or the losing of the game. That's under 50%. Ultimately, in an All-Ireland final, as harsh as it is, it's not good enough to win an All-Ireland title. And even looking at it overall, like, I think it went up slightly in the game. It went up to 50%, but it was 15 shots taken out of 30. Ballygunner's was 21 out of 31. So even looking at the shots numbers there, Ballygunner 31, Loughrea 30. Like, it wasn't too much between the sides. And there was 26 turnovers on each side. Around the middle of the park, it wasn't too much of, I would say, a blistering performance from a Ballygunner point of view. Aaron might have mentioned they were in third gear and things like that, which is probably true. But it was even keel throughout the whole game. I just think Loughrea shot themselves in the foot with a few shot selections. And I'm sure they will learn from that. You know the saying, you have to lose one to win one. And I think with Loughrea, it was their first appearance in Croke Park since 2007. None of that team was part of the team in 2007. It's just a process of learning. And hopefully these Loughrea players will learn in the next few years. It just, this year may have come a bit too soon for them. And I'm sure they will learn to take better shot selections and things like that in All-Ireland finals. Like, even the Slot-Leal game, that was kind of a feature. I know they hammered Slot-Leal, but it was a feature, particularly in the first half of that game. They were taking some wild shots. And I think they had to improve on that in the All-Ireland final to win it. Unfortunately, today wasn't the case where they were going to improve in that aspect.
Yeah, no, you've put it very, very well there. And then when you look at over the last few years, you were mentioning as well in the preview about the Croke Park factor. And when you look over the past few years, Nafina against SARS in last year's final, even though it was Nafina's first All-Ireland final, they'd played in Croke Park in that championship up until the final, in the Leinster final, obviously against Kilcormac. Sorry, Liam. They had that experience of playing in Croke Park. Then you look at Ballyhale as well against Dunloy the year before. Ballyhale had the experience at Croke Park. Even the game that Ballygunner won against Ballyhale Shamrocks, let's not, forget, it was a late goal from Harry Ruddle that flew into the net that, as you said, on another day, Dean Mason might have saved, that got them over the line. Ballyhale should have closed that game out, and their experience of playing in Croke Park was what helped them. And then this time, Ballygunner had the experience that Loughrea didn't have of playing in Croke Park, and especially in that third quarter, their experience absolutely shone through. Mike here saying there's a reason Stephen O'Keefe got man of the match. 5-6 goal chances and you score one. Underdogs need them. They definitely were the best hurling team Ballygunner played, but didn't have the ruthlessness of Ballygunner. About Loughrea, of course. And then Brian saying Kerry clubs winning the junior, intermediate and senior football club championship must be a first, perhaps a foretaste of this year's championship outcome. Massive respect for the achievement, but as a dub, foreshadowing of what's to come, hopefully not. But no, seriously, incredible achievement. You can't argue with that. Aaron, what do you think was missing for Loughrea just before we wrap up? There was talk as well. Tommy Kelly came out and said that the appeal process for Cullen Cúilín's red card to be overturned, that it did have a bit of an effect on Cullen. Obviously, Cullen was taken off with 5 minutes to go in normal time. Their shooting, as Matthew pointed out there, wasn't good enough, especially in the first half, missed a lot of chances. Do you think if they got a couple more of them that they might have won, or do you think that Ballygunner were just kind of inevitable today?
Yeah, I think a few things really. I definitely think the fact of Ballygunner having tougher games, and I know they won a lot of their games comfortably, but they were playing more competitive games. Do you know what I mean? Like from the Munster Championship and everything else, and they were getting more tests and they were getting more legs in the players. Like, I felt like with Loughrea, especially towards the end of the second half, in terms of fitness and endurance, like it never really looked like. Sometimes you can see when a team might get a run on another team and they might be able to build a bit of momentum, but Loughrea just never really had that. I thought they were quite slow in their build-up as well. Like they were getting a bit of joy in the first half running at Ballygunner's defence. And they were creating chances and obviously a lot of goal chances that Stephen O'Keefe saved kind of came within those moments. But yeah, their build-up was just a little bit off. And I think confidence as well. Like I think when the goal went in, like there was kind of a big gap there. And I felt like Loughrea never really kind of had the belief maybe to kind of come back when they were 5, 6, 7 points down, kind of going into the closing stages. And ultimately, yeah, it is a young team. First time playing in Croke Park, which was probably evident enough from looking at the game. They're coming up against, as we said, probably one of the best teams in recent memory. So look, they've had an incredible year, winning back-to-back in Galway, and everything else that's gone with that. But there's no question, like obviously, look, not to take anything away from Slot Neil, but it's not the same level as playing a Ballygunner in a semi-final or even a St. Martin's. So I think that probably did go a little bit against them as well, given how comfortable that win was. So it's a young team. They'll gain experience from it. We know there's plenty of great club teams that have come out of Galway in the past. So it's certainly a disappointment for now, but I don't think they'll be, I think they'll definitely be back in the mix next year and for the next couple of years.
Yeah. Well, to wrap it up, you can't say anything other than massive congratulations to Ballygunner. Unbelievable achievement by Ballygunner. Worthy All-Ireland champions for 2025/26. And now, folks, I'm just going to take a bow because I predicted it from the beginning. But to be fair, it was literally
a big build of bus.
Build of bus. But yeah, we won't talk about the ones I got wrong. But we'll jump through to the next games. Lads, across the weekend then, obviously we had multiple GAA action across the weekend from the preseason competitions, everything like that. We actually had a funny one up here. I'll see if I can find the comment Peter mentioned. Let me get it up. Oh yeah, Peter here. Says, interesting sideline scenes at Donegal, Monaghan, McKenna Cup game. Jimmy fighting the linesman now, it seems. Did you see this, lads?
Yeah. Yeah. We're not in school.
Yeah, very, very interesting. What was your highlights from the season, from the weekend, apart from the club championship games? Is there anything that jumped out, Matthew?
Well, I have to mention it because I barely mentioned it on pods. Cork beating Kerry and Killarney. I think this is the first time since 1995, so up the Rebels. It was a brilliant win, to be fair. And to be fair, look, joking aside, I don't think Cork played actually well in this game. I watched the full game yesterday on TG4 Player or TG4 YouTube, and yeah, it was kind of a weird game. Sean O'Shea was excellent for Kerry. I thought Tony Brosnan kicks some brilliant scores from a Kerry point of view as well. And Kerry were 9-5 up at half-time. They had David Clifford on the pitch. They had Joe Connor on the pitch. They had Ty Morley. They had Jason Foley. They had an abundance of talent. They clearly didn't want to lose the game. And then in the second half, Cork just got a bit of belief and eventually got back into the game. Like it was kind of weird in that kind of sense. Brian Hurley got two two-pointed frees, which were excellent, to be fair. I would say Stephen Sherlock did struggle. He got 1 point from a free in the first half, and then Brian Hurley came on and got 5 points. So maybe Stephen probably will lose his place in the starting team for the game against Cavan next week. But yeah, it was a very good display. Chris Oak-Jones got the winning score from a Cork point of view, and the way they built it up was very good as well. And a bit of a difference we've seen over the past few weeks. Dingle benefit from the 50-metre advancement. So did Gaeltacht against Salins as well. Well, it worked the opposite way in this game because Cork got a 2-pointed free for a 50-metre advancement in this game, which Brian Hurley converted. And Kerry meant to have a 50-metre advancement. Conor Daly seemed to have, according to the referee anyway, shoved the Kerry player or whatever. The ball was brought up, but then the linesman intervened and said no 50-metre advancement, free from where it was. I think that was a lovely change, to be fair. And then Kerry obviously lost the game in the end. And I see Jack O'Connor actually go on and complain to the referee, even though it's a pre-season game. But look, it was a good win from a Cork point of view, and good confidence booster going to the Cavan game next week. And Cork were missing Ian Maguire, they were missing Conor Corbett, Colin O'Mahony, so we still have players missing as well. So, but look, it's always great to win in Killarney. I know it's pre-season, but it's great to win down there.
There's no question it has a big impact because I mean, remember Aaron, even for like for Dublin trying to build under Pat Gilroy that beating Kerry and beating Cork in the spring series in 2011 in the league, that those games were huge because Dublin had never beaten Cork or Kerry in Croke Park before, and they were beating them in front of decent crowds in Croke Park. It was building them up nicely for a potential All-Ireland push. So a win like this for Cork, just to get used to beating Kerry, is massively important, especially when the likes of David Clifford, Sean O'Shea and all are on the pitch. I think that's why Jack O'Connor is clocking. Like as you said, he's never gone back-to-back before, and I'll be interested to see what the demeanour is like on the touchline, what the pressure will be like, because this is really like the only thing now that is left for him to tick off. And if they start off the campaign losing the Munster Championship, I think even if they went on to win the All-Ireland, I do think it would bother him, because, you know, I think there's a way of winning the All-Ireland that if you say you won untouched, that you won the province straight through the front door and won the All-Ireland, that feels more clean than going through the back door. So he'll want to do that. There's no question about it. Aaron, what was your highlights? Obviously, we had the Dubs losing the Walsh Cup final to Galway, and what was a really, really rough game. Like, looking at the game, it was like, geez, fucking hell. Like, people were flying into tackles. And you had there, of course, Micheál Donoghue and Neil O'Callaghan on the touchline, the two managers of Dublin in the past 2 years. What did you make of the game?
Yeah, like, I mean, it was very ferocious. There was a lot of challenges. It didn't feel like a pre-season game, to be honest with you. Like, even listening to the crowd and everything else, like, it felt more like a Leinster Championship game and almost more like a knockout game. It was very unusual. Like Dublin, I thought started the game quite well. It was towards in the second half we kind of faded and struggled kind of a little bit. We did enough. I thought we did enough at the end to kind of hang on and get the victory. But then a questionable enough free, I would say, towards the end to kind of for Galway and Conor Cooney to kind of put the ball over the bar and send it to penalties. The penalties were unusual as well. Like a lot of misses at the start in terms of a penalty shootout. You're kind of thinking, I don't know, maybe we should just end it as a draw. Which at first I thought was actually
coin toss. Just launches the coin.
Yeah. To be honest, I actually wasn't sure at first because I was watching the game. I was actually in the gym watching the game and had it muted, so I didn't know if I actually didn't know what was going on. I was like, are they just going to share it or what?
Commentator was saying live, he was like, I'm waiting for confirmation on what's going on. And I'm like, what on earth? Are they going to decide what's going on? The thing is that, let's be honest, it was tough conditions to take a penalty. Like, clearly you were seeing that it was heavy, the sod was heavy, the ball was heavy, the rain was heavy. The conditions were heavy to take a penalty. And yeah, fair play to Galway though. And again, it's very difficult to know where they're at because, you know, they won the Walsh Cup. Some players stood up. You have Loughrea there. I still think they'll get out of Leinster, but I can actually see us getting to a Leinster final this year. Now, the only question about it is we did have a lot of players playing who will be in our starting 15, like the likes of Donald Burke, Conor Burke. They're all playing. Good news is that Owen O'Donnell's back with the Hurlers. That's a massive boost. He is.
I did hear, Séamus, that Danny Sutcliffe is retired. I think Neil O'Callaghan mentioned that.
Yeah.
Quietly. Just
that was expected, though.
Unbelievable servant for Dublin Home. Unbelievable servant. All-Star 2013. Yeah, it's a legend. Peter here says Conor Whelan was playing. Yeah, that's again rumours of Conor Whelan being abroad. But yeah, he was playing for Galway and he did look decent. Liam, what was your personal highlight from across the weekend just before we wrap up?
Hopefully not playing. I'm joking.
You won the ladies, Liam.
That's true, actually. Yeah, that is true. They had a good win against Wicklow this morning. Well, this morning, it was at 2 p.m, but it feels like it was this morning. But yeah, no, it was a great way to start off the league campaign. Look, it was 2025 was probably, I would say, arguably the worst year in Offaly LGFA history, considering at one stage we had no chairperson, no PRO, and no manager. And we were losing games constantly, and there was arguments amongst everybody and amongst board level and players and management, etc. So it's nice that for once today we've actually just gotten ourselves a victory to start off the campaign, and a solid one away to Wicklow as well, a side that we were beaten by last year, I believe, to be relegated. So yeah, look, it's a good start for us to win that, and hopefully I can kick on next weekend and build on this victory. I suppose as well, look, it was seeing Westmeath and the Kildare O'Byrne Cup game the other night was good from my perspective, because from my own show on Midlands 103, I cut my show short and we went straight to commentary for theirs. So it was nice to be able to do that for the first time and go straight to a game on my show usually. But as well as that, look, it's nice to see Kildare and Kilkenny being a competitive game today as well. Look, whether that'll be the case when it gets down to the Leinster Championship, I severely doubt it, to be fair, because I just think Kilkenny will go up another level when it gets to the Leinster Championship. But still, it'll do good for Kildare's confidence and everything like that. But yeah, no, I suppose, yeah, it was nice to see those couple of games. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the inter-county action being back next weekend. I'll be heading down to Nolan Park to watch us play against Kilkenny, so I'm very much looking forward to that. Obviously, I know we're playing loud in the football as well, so I wish them the best of luck in that as well. And hopefully, look, it's a shame that the two of them are on at the same time and they're both in different locations, but hopefully we'll get good support for the two of them. But yeah, look, I thought it was a good weekend anyways. And yeah, look, you're mentioning about, clubs having hangovers. If we were to win the All-Ireland next year, I'll have a 10-year hangover, never mind a 1-year hangover, to be honest with you. But yeah, no, it was a good weekend, and I'm very much looking forward to inter-county action next weekend.
Absolutely. And keep your eyes peeled as well, folks, for the National Leagues preview, which will be dropping during the week live on the Cúilín Media YouTube channel. This one will not be a live episode where you can get involved in a live chat and fire in comments, but it will be a premiere of our in-person studio episode, which we recorded last weekend. The first time that we've all been in the studio together. We did an episode for the LGFA, the hurling and the football leagues. And because the Camogie was starting in mid-February, we've decided to do a preview for the Camogie leagues the week before that begins on the 14th of February as well, and get a special guest on for that, to keep your eyes peeled. That one will be live. Peter saying, great review, lads. Thanks a mil. Is your league special preview out on Thursday? It will be out midweek. We're aiming for Wednesday, but if there is any hold up, we'll put out some social media announcements to let you know. Lads, I'll leave you with this quote because I just seen it there. It's from Mark O'Connor. And Matthew, when you're talking about quote of the year in 2026, I think we have a front runner already. Mark O'Connor said this in an interview after the game. The inter-county lads will go to your wedding. The Dingle boys will be under my coffin. I mean, when you're talking about how you put into words what the club means, Mark O'Connor's put it beautifully there. And that's where we're going to wrap it up. Congratulations to Dingle and to Ballygunner, All-Ireland club champions for 2025-26. Thanks so much to everybody for jumping on the show, watching live and getting involved in the discussion. We will be back, of course, with our league preview. Stay tuned for that. Our next live episode will be this time next week on the Weekend Review Show in the league's round 1. Can't wait for it. Until then, Torah.
Instinct.